time for business now. We say hi to Karis Garland. Karis, thanks for joining us again. With the situation unfolding in Gaza as it is, there are obviously those people who live in Gaza, but they work in Israel still. Now they're unable to return home. What's the situation with them?
Yeah, so these hundreds of Gazans who found themselves unable to go back into the Gaza Strip, there's some of about 18,000 people who have a work permit to work in Israel. Since the violence broke out on Saturday, they've had to find shelter in the West Bank, their future uncertain, especially given the total siege on the enclave and talks of a potential ground offensive. That's not only their homes that are under threat, but also their jobs, as Israel uses these work permits as a form of leverage. Clémence Vola reports.
These Gaza-based Palestinians were working jobs in Israel when Hamas launched its deadly operation. Unable to return home after Israeli authorities completely locked down the enclave, they, along with many others, sought refuge in the West Bank. They feared possible reprisals if they remained in Israel.
We spent 3 days in the apartment in silence and didn't even dare to make a sound. We locked ourselves up. We didn't even dare to open the window because the situation was dangerous. We were at work in Ashkelon city.
The workers were provided accommodation in hotels and centers by local authorities in Ramallah. Some told foreign media they were forced by the Israeli army to head to the West Bank after being detained for hours.
The workers were attacked. They had their teeth broken. There were injuries that we tried to treat. Some workers do not have identification papers. They confiscated their identity cards and their phones.
Approximately 18,000 Palestinians have permits to work inside Israel, where they bring in some $2 million a day. These work permits are in extremely high demand, as they allow Gazans to earn up to 10 times more than what they would make in the enclave. In the past, Israeli officials have pledged to increase the number of permits should the security situation remain calm, thus holding the precious work documents as leverage.
Now for the final word on Wall Street for the week. Stocks mostly fell Friday, pressured by a spike in oil prices and rising inflation expectations. Dow Jones closing about 0.1% higher, the S&P 500 shedding 0.5% lower, and the Nasdaq losing 1.2%. The Union of Striking Auto Workers says it's not expanding its strike against the Detroit Three for the moment, but will decide on extra walkouts at the last minute. Since beginning industrial action nearly a month ago, the United Auto Workers Union has been announcing changes to its strike action on Fridays, targeting companies that had made the least amount of efforts in negotiations. 2 days ago, it declared an immediate walkout at Ford's Kentucky truck plant in Louisville, where some of the company's most profitable models are built. UAW President Shawn Fain said a change in game plan was needed to keep companies on their toes.
We're not waiting until Fridays anymore. We're not sticking to one pattern or one system of giving these companies an extra hour or an extra day. They thought they figured out the so-called rules of the game. So we changed the rules. And now there's only one rule: pony up.
Several U.S. banks have reported a jump in profits for the third quarter, reflecting a continued boost from higher interest rates and healthy U.S. employment. JP Morgan Chase posted $13.2 billion in net income for the third quarter, a jump of 35% compared to last year. Wells Fargo profits jumped 60%, and BlackRock reported an adjusted net income of $1.6 billion, beating analysts' expectations. Well, despite the higher earnings, the banks have warned of uncertainty amid inflation and the wars in Ukraine and the Middle East. Microsoft has finally closed its $69 billion deal to buy game maker Activision Blizzard after approval from the UK regulator. The takeover swells Microsoft's heft in the video gaming market with best-selling titles including Call of Duty to better compete with industry leader Sony. British regulators were the final obstacle to the deal, which was originally unveiled in January last year. The CMA having blocked it over competition concerns, it then finally gave the okay after Microsoft agreed it would not take control of the cloud portion of Activision's business. Well, it was a long time coming, but they got there in the end, Jean-Pierre.
They got there indeed. Activision Blizzard, the creators of Candy Crush as well.